Welcome to the Global Oneness Summit, transforming our lives through conscious creativity. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Sue Morter, Deborah Poneman, Marcy Shimoff, Dr. Anita Sanchez, and we'll be talking about evolutionary women transforming lives. We'll touch on how we can transform each other's lives through our creativity, receiving abundance in all areas of our life, and we'll also go into some brief exercises to help with transforming our lives today. So I wanted to give a brief introduction of all these incredible women on the panel today, and just a little bit about me. I'm Carissa Sims, host of the Zen Success podcast, and I'll introduce Marcy Shimoff first. She is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a world-renowned transformational teacher, and an expert on happiness, success, and unconditional love. What more do you need? Her books include the international bestsellers, Happy for No Reason and Love for No Reason. She has been featured in the movie The Secret and has her own TV show, Happy for No Reason. Next, Dr. Sue Morter. And I just heard her at Agape last Sunday, which is amazing. She is the USA Today #1 bestselling LA Times and #1 Amazon bestselling author of The Energy Codes, the 7-step system to awaken your spirit, heal your body, and live your best life. I'm so in alignment with that. Through the energy codes, Dr. Sue provides techniques to activate untapped energy and neurocircuitry in the body, empower hidden potential, and become one's true essential self. And in fact, we were talking about that just yesterday at Humanities Team, finding your authentic self. Next, we have Dr. Anita Sanchez. Dr. Anita has spent 4 decades sharing indigenous wisdom with executives and their teams from all over the world. And we get to hear her wisdom today. We're so lucky. Now she has written a best-selling book calling upon all of humanity to remember how to work and live together. Anita, you're going to share maybe a little bit about your book, The 4 Sacred Gifts, later. Now I'd like to introduce Deborah Poneman. For over 4 decades, Deborah Poneman, best-selling author and founder of Yes to Success and Ageless seminars, which I have attended. They're amazing. Yay. She has shared her system used by hundreds and thousands around the world to live not only success and abundance, but profound self-love, deep happiness, and ageless radiance. Yay. Welcome, all of you powerful evolutionary women.
Hey,
Thank you.
It was great to be here.
Is this a bit of a reunion? Do you all know each other?
We do. We love each other. We not only know each other, but we love each other dearly.
For lifetimes. We're soul family.
Oh,
Yeah.
for lifetime, soul family. Well, that's amazing. We're so excited to hear from you. And it feels also like a little bit of a miracle getting your calendars all lined up to make it today. So, and I just wanted to say this, I feel, is an auspicious time connecting with all of you and sharing your wisdom, because we had the full blue supermoon energies of yesterday. And today is a powerful day in the Mayan calendar. So it's the 9 Khan day, and the power and wisdom combines with the number 9. It represents life and the divine feminine that gives rise to a day of empowerment through the wisdom of women. Isn't that amazing?
Perfect.
Here we are all talking. So the day is associated with body energy that empowers us physically, spiritually, enabling us to carry out our work in the world. So let's get started. First of all, I'm just going to ask you some questions. Would love to hear from you. What is being an evolutionary woman to you, Marcy?
Wow. Well, an evolutionary woman is someone who is committed to, I think, her own evolution. To me, this life has been about how do I transform my own life to live the greatest truth there is? And then through that, to share that with others. And I think that that's anybody who's come to this event is in that flow, is wanting that same thing. How do we live, not the identity that society has taught us to be. That is not the truth of who we are, but how do we live in this energetic state of love and what I call living in the miracle zone, other people call living in the flow. That's what being an evolutionary human is about. And so I think that we're all committed to that here.
That's amazing. Can I just take a moment to say, where are you connecting from? Because it's looking so tropical there.
I am in Maui.
Okay.
And I am here partially. I'm here because I love it, but I'm also here. I came about a week after the fires, and I'm bringing the tapping solution, Nick Ortner's beautiful tapping process, to the people here who've been affected by the fires and the trauma here. It's interesting because there's a lot of trauma here, but there's also a huge love field that's here. So it's really beautiful to be in the midst of that love field.
That's incredible. And thank you for sharing that love field with all of us so we can feel it. So amazing. I love that definition too, evolutionary human or women. So Deborah, what about you? What is being an evolutionary woman to you?
That's, well, I'll tell you what I believe is the key to being an evolutionary woman, and that is to be brutally honest with yourself and to do what really moves the needle in your own life and not what's easy. I mean, you can take 100 self-improvement courses or go on 1,000 Zoom presentations, and you'll always get a nugget that enables you to have an aha moment so that you can move your life ahead. And you might even incorporate what you learned. And I love those programs. They're fabulous. I teach them myself. But there's a concept in Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical text, and it's called tikkun. And the literal meaning in Hebrew of tikkun is to repair. And the question that the Kabbalists ask us is, what were you born in this human body, in this lifetime to repair, to get right this time around that you didn't get right last time around, so you don't have to come back? And I think that to be an evolutionary woman, we have to go deep. It's not like, oh, what I need to repair is I'm late all the time. Well, that's a good start, but you might want to go deeper. If you want to really go for the gold, ask yourself, am I ready to speak my truth even when I'm quaking in my boots? Am I ready to forgive the unforgivable for the sake of my own self-realization? Am I ready to fearlessly love and not hide because what happened to me as a child? Am I ready to see every moment, no matter how awful or scary or cringeworthy, as a gift? And it doesn't mean that you don't take action and say, oh, it's all perfect. You do need to face your cocoons. But I think being an evolutionary woman is to do the tough stuff and to walk your talk.
Wow. That just got me. That was powerful, Deborah. Thank you. Thank you. I agree with you. Well, what about you, Dr. Sue? What is being an evolutionary woman to you?
Yes, well, all the beautiful comments that have happened already are really setting us into a beautiful place of really taking a look at, am I living as the personality, or am I dropping more deeply into myself and truly living as a deep spiritual presence on this planet? Am I operating as the soul, or am I operating as the reactor in life? And I really feel that ultimately we are to evolve into living as the soul, to living as pure spirit that is coming here, awakening to itself fully and utilizing the soulful presence to do so. So when we say things like we're restoring the soul or refining or repairing something, it's really about, can I express in this world, on this earthly plane, as the true self that I am, the true creative energy that I am? And when we land here and we sort of splat and we get dispersed into different pieces and parts of ourselves, what happens is we start identifying as the mind, which then becomes, caught up in its experiences in relativity. And I am enough or I'm not enough, I'm better than, I'm less than. And that whole situation begins to take on this roller coastering, experience in life. And I feel that as evolutionary people, we are here, particularly as women, at a time where we can more easily pull ourselves back into the soulful presence because of the conflict that's going on in the outer world. And that we're ultimately here to evolve into being a creator instead of a reactor, to being a presence that is bringing our gifts into the world instead of hiding them because of the story that we've been telling ourselves, or not even getting in touch with them because we're so busy protecting and guarding and doing all of the things that the personality gets stuck in doing when it is disconnected from source. And so the truth of us is that we are source. We are made of that very energy that is compressed into a form. And we're here in a body doing this thing, but we just don't know that that's what's going on until we do. And so for me, being an evolutionary woman is about constantly as well seeing and sensing and feeling, when is my personality getting in the way of the true full expression of the creative source that I am? And can I love that out of control? Can I love that out of its role in filtering myself? Can I love myself back into wholeness rather than trying to excise and get rid of the parts of me that I don't like? Can I evolve into a loving being that is willing to embrace all aspects of self so that I can get on with being a creative presence, bringing the original medicine and the beauty that we each are? So
thank you for sharing that. I feel that went so deep that I really need to meditate on that concept of letting go of the personality and letting the true light shining through. I'm going to process that later. But so inspiring. Dr. Anita, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes,
what is it to be an evolutionary woman? Go ahead.
Yes, I love everything that I've heard. And when I think of being an evolutionary woman, I want to make sure that the people watching us and listening to us are thinking of themselves, are feeling parts of themselves come alive. Because from my perspective, which usually is an indigenous one, a tradition called Nawa, which is Aztecan, and one that I'm learning more and more about because I'm also from the Amazon, is that we are meant to be good medicine. And it's not like the pharmaceutical stuff that we've been dealing with over the last few years in a big time way. It's about being good medicine to ourselves and to others, that we're one hoop of life. And so to be evolutionary means that you are always putting in alignment as a human being, the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And anyone or anything that does that, puts those in alignment, is good medicine. Bad medicine is anyone or anything that takes the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical out of alignment. And so for me, that has been the guidance to understand, as Dr. Sue was saying, and actually is embedded in what Marcia and Deborah said too, is we're our spiritual beings. And we're so rewarded in this life, in this physical life, for just the physical that can be seen and understood. And it misses out on that separation, that illusion of separation has us miss out in living out our evolutionary purpose being here. And so it's everyone, and I'm going to move it a little bit. It's everything. So I am also part of the earth. And when I listen to be clear about what the wisdom is, I don't just listen to the wisdom inside. I listen to the ancestors. I listen to the stars. I listen to the earth. I listen to the birds, to the water, all the beings, because we're all part of this. And when we understand, when I came alive and really began to understand what I was being taught since I remember 3 years old, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never alone. I have the power and ability to create goodness, to create a life-seeking life. That is the reason, the call to live your purpose. So it's not only for yourself, but it's for all the beings you touch and for generations to come that we don't even know yet. But for us, it's at least 7 generations forward.
Wow. I wasn't sure if you were going to end there. That was so
there's so much
powerful.
more. Like all of us could do so much more.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
I love the indigenous perspective. I actually got a little bit teary eyed, just the grandness of what you're saying, of who we are. So beautiful. Well, as evolutionary women, you've transformed. I mean, how can we say cumulatively how many lives you've transformed? I mean, does each person want to say like 1,000,005? Cumulative.
No way.
I was going to say thousands, but then I was like, oh no, it's probably like a billion.
It's definitely in the millions, but there's just no way, because what we hope is that we share something with someone and they turn around and share it with someone else.
Yeah.
And they share it with their children, and they share it with their neighbors. And so it's exponential. Right.
So then it's an exponential formula here with each life you transform, then that maybe it's 100,000. I don't know. After that,
I just want to echo
Higher math.
We're talking millions and millions, Carissa, because we are the one hoop, and we get to understand that anything that we think, do, say, all of those forms has an impact on everything else. So whether you're working with a large institution, organization, corporation, or one-on-one, the numbers and that one-on-one could translate to a whole lot in themselves, millions. So that, I think, is part of it, evolutionary thinking too, is that oneness, that unity. That's not just a cliche, but a living of that, an understanding. That's who I am and what I am. And so that gives you the energy, even in tough times, which always will be, just to stay present to what is, but also those possibilities and having all that you need within and without, because we're all connected.
Yes, yes. So what do you think the key to transformation is? Do you want to start, Deborah?
Well, I think that my answer before, facing this tough stuff, but and I introduced the concept of tikkun. Tikkun is what you were put on earth to do in this lifetime, to face in this lifetime, to transform this lifetime. And I think that, as Byron Katie says, we also have to realize that even when stuff is tough, everything happens for you and not to you. And everything happens exactly at the right time, neither too soon or too late. You don't have to like it. It's just easier if you do. So when you spontaneously live that way, when you spontaneously live, seeing the perfection in all things, that everything is a gift, I believe that you're there. And also, it's what Dr. Sue said. It's to stop living as the personality you, but as the real you. And sometimes what happens is when we face our tikkuns, we have to not look good in front of other people. That's always been my biggest fear, that I'm not going to look good, that people are going to see that I'm not perfect. But that's what it's all about. It's not having this overlay of the personality, but actually, there's this story in Kabbalah that a man goes to heaven and the guardian at the gate says, "What did you do to deserve to get into heaven?" And the man says, I was the most good person that I could ever be. I was always loving. I was always kind. I didn't ruffle any feathers. I didn't have an enemy in the world. And that's why I believe I should be led into heaven. And the guardian at the gate says, "Well, that's fantastic. You just got yourself a first-class ticket to hell." Because in order to make the change that is so necessary to be made now on earth, we can't worry about people liking us. We can't worry about not ruffling feathers. We got to do the tough stuff, and we have to speak our truth. And not everybody's going to like it if we speak our truth. So I think that those are the ways that we could transform. When we get to that, our friend Shelley Lefkoe just wrote a book called Hitting the Wall. When we hit the wall of our fear, that's when we have to say, this is the moment I was born for, and hold your breath and just go through. And I believe that the arms of the angels are going to be there to catch you on the other side.
Thank you. That's so inspiring, Deborah. What about you, Marcy? What do you think the key to transformation is?
Well, I certainly think that the first step to it is where we put our attention. You know, we've learned it so backwards in our society. We think that it's about getting the conditions of our life to be just right. And it's really about being in the place internally of truth, of love. And then the conditions of life become right. So it's not, I'll do this and then I'll be happy. It's about, I will live in this truth that everyone here is speaking about. So it's really about putting ourselves in that flow of the truth of life. And ultimately that flow is what we know of as love. It's that field of love. And it's not the love that we think of as romantic or personal love. It's the essence of life love. I was watching a documentary a little bit ago about Carole King. And Carole King was one of I loved Carole King music. In fact, all of us on the panel, I don't know, probably not you, Carissa, but all of us on the panel are in the Carole King era. And I probably listened to my record Tapestry more than any other record. And so I was watching this documentary, and Carole King said, the secret to my success is that I get out of the way. And I let the process be guided by whatever is driving me. And I think that is the key to transformation, is to get out of the way, as what Sue says, is the personality, and be connected to that true essence of who we are. And it's really about, Meister Eckhart said that the soul is, he said something about that the soul doesn't grow by addition. It's not about being better at anything, but by subtraction. It's about revealing the truth of who we are and not what we aren't. So whatever it is that puts us in that flow, that connects us to the truth of who we are. And I think that the biggest thing for that, especially for women, is truly listening, being silent, going inside, listening to what is my truth, and then honoring it. As Deborah said, doing even the hard stuff, but honoring the truth of that. And also knowing that love field, including ourselves in that love field. That's a big key.
Thank you for that answer. Dr. Sue, did you have anything to add? What do you think the key to transformation is?
I totally concur that love is key, because we're made of that. When we first come into form from the unified field, the very first vibration that gets created is the vibrational frequency that we call love. And so everything else is built upon love. It is that. And so when we're identifying as the mind is only a part of who we are. And it's only always going to feel like something's missing. It's going to feel like there is something insufficient. And so when someone's having a thought about, I'm not enough, or I feel insecure, or I'm never going to be enough, or something along those lines, it's true, because they're identified as the mind, and the mind will never be enough. The mind is seeking something, and what it is seeking is the soulful self, the true self, the real authentic version of us. And so when we are being that true self, we're not thinking about how do we look, or how's it going, or am I comparing, or am I measuring up, or am I as far along in life as I should be at this point? Those are thoughts of the mind. Soul totally doesn't think that way. It doesn't have that sort of repertoire at all. It's not interested in that. It is interested in the full-on expression of love that is true. It is interested in finding all of the ways that I could live in and shed love upon circumstances that are not vibrating in that frequency at this time. We are truly here as that, to bring light into the darkness, into the densities, into the pockets of ourselves and of life as we see it, which is only a reflection of us, in ways that allow love to expand more on the surface of this planet. Humanity, I feel, is evolving. We're evolving into prioritizing love over smartness. That the smartest thing that we can do is to own and to honor love. That's the smartest thing that we could do, is to find the love in every situation. and choose to operate from a place of that. So if it feels like that's not accessible in this moment, that's your moment. If it feels like you don't know what to do or say, that's your moment. If it feels like, I don't know, I don't think this is my time, that's your time, because you're here to create love, love's access into moments of life that don't seem to be vibrating as that frequency. We're here as creators to allow love into places where it wasn't before. And as we do that, we experience a true version of self. And you know what I notice for myself in the moments when that's happening, I'm not worried about how it looks. I'm not worried about if I'm being, appropriate or graceful, or if people like me, or if I'm popular. I'm just loving my life. I love the juice and the passion that comes out of those kinds of choices. And so I personally just keep trying to choose that more and choose it sooner and choose it more regularly until I'm never not. That's my goal, to never not be choosing to impart the loving path in all ways that I can discover.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really resonate with that. And I had that thought a few times before interviewing all of you powerful women. Am I ready for this? Can I really do this? Because I really look up and respect you. And then I got into that, what you said, just letting it go into that field of love. So I applied that.
Yeah, and we are so blessed by having you here. I mean, your love is so evident, right? And so it's the blessing of all of this. So
blessing. It's such a blessing. I felt really aligned with what you said. Dr. Anita, what do you think the key to transformation is?
Well, what's coming to me is one, I just love listening to you all. I miss you, being in person with you.
Yeah.
But the elders, my elders, there are many, they just kind of showed up. And there's this sense of them smiling and nodding, because one of the things I love about Indigenous elders and other elders from other traditions is there's no one way. And yet at the same time, all the different messages come back to that 4-letter word, love. And so I'm smiling and saying, yes, there's all these different ways. And I just want to add too, because I know people always listen and think you just arrive. But I want to say that you not only to be still and to truly listen, it's also not getting in the mindset that it has to be your older, wiser self or something. In my life, the 3 and 4-year-old, I still go back to her. She was so wise. She hadn't forgotten. She knew she was supposed to connect hearts all over the world. I don't know how you're supposed to do that. That's all I know. And who knew it was me? But the Mexican indigenous woman going out into the corporate world and the international world, well, you got to have a PhD and you got to do this and all these certificates. And it was just like Dr. Sue was saying, it's like the more isn't more. I'm glad it did that. It allowed me to get into some places and bring people who don't have that into those places, because the reality is it's here. It's about loving ourselves. It's about listening, and connecting to community. And that's both the community in the spiritual plane as well as in the physical, all of that. So I agree about the joy. It's joyful to be here.
I want to add something to Anita. Anita just has a brand new grandbaby. Yes. And now you can watch that little angel do the same thing you did when you were 2 or 3.
You better believe it. Yeah, I've taken out a lot of the ways I learn, but besides going to powwows and things, but learning from different things of nature. And so I'm already talking to her, but before she even came out of the womb, and I'm not going to push it on. I'm like the elders, they just offer and invite. And that's what I hear us doing, is invite, not to tell you there's any one way. It's just to say, it is, you are part of it. And we need you at this time more than ever.
Oh, thank you. That's so powerful. Dr. Anita, I was wondering if any of the elders that came through wanted to share anything, any inspiration or messages, or are they just nodding in agreement?
Pretty much they were nodding, and just what I got very clearly is remind people that there are many ways, because sometimes, again, if we're not listening with this softest part of our ears, expanding heart, listening to our guts, listening to nature, all this listening. If we're not doing that, which sounds like a lot, but actually it's hard not to listen, I find after a while, is that then we again get separated. So I think so many showed up because they're letting me know the hoop of life, the unity, that we're all in this, and grateful for all the different journeys and their different twists and turns, the hard stuff and the good stuff, because we're going to add to what is possible for the 7 generations to come, for Viviana, my granddaughter, and others.
Yes, that bright light that she is. Thank you for sharing that and going a little bit deeper with the elders. I was very curious.